Namaskar, Nileshok. In episode number 3 on Draupadi Vastraharan, let's begin. If you have not seen Draupadi Vastraharan, a case study, parts 1 and 2, every reason for you to stop this episode, and go back to part 1 and part 2 and watch them at least once, but if required, multiple times. And only you can decide if you need to watch it multiple times. Without the proper understanding of part 1 and part 2, part 3 and future parts cannot be understood in the proper context with Viveka Buddhi. Let's jump into part 3. In part 1 and 2, we looked at the Sabha Parva narration, few adhyay, where the Dyuta game began. Yudhishthir lost his wealth, then himself, his brothers, and he also wagered Draupadi. Then Draupadi was brought to the court and various incidents happens. That includes, as per the Gita Press narration, Dushasan trying to remove the clothes of Draupadi, Draupadi praying to Bhagwan Krishna, Bhagwan Krishna appearing in the form of a cloth or clothes or vastra, and a series of vastra appeared. It created a huge pile, okay, right in the court. That is the description, and that's what we are that's what we are discussing, that's what we are going to analyze based on rest of the Mahabharata text evidence, but also using the scientific acumen, Vijnana Buddhi, using logical reasoning skills, Tarka Shastra, and aspects of Tantra Yukti, using empiricism, but also when that is not available, such as the case here, using the other pramanas, Anumana, based on a Shabda, but also trying to understand this incident from the basic Vijnana Buddhi principles of consistency. What we saw in part 1 and 2 is from Sabha Parva. We will call this Draupadi Vastra-Haran. Now, are there references, additional references that refer to this incident within rest of the Mahabharata text? The answer is yes. In fact, these references occur in Vana Parva, Virata Parva, Udyog Parva, Drona Parva, Karna Parva, Shalya Parva, Stri Parva, and Shanti Parva. It is quite possible that the may occur or are there in other parvas that I have not mentioned, but these are the one that I could extract these specific references. Now, since we began with the Sabha Parva, and it does have the reference to this Draupadi Vastraharan, but the specific aspect of Dushasan trying to remove her clothes, okay, and then Krishna appearing in the form of Vastra and providing her series of Vastra, which turned into a big heap of these saris or these clothes, okay, right in the court of Dhritarashtra, Kaurava court. Is there any additional reference specifically to Vastraharan besides this Sabha Parva reference? And the answer is yes. There is indeed one additional reference. But let me point out, only one additional reference in addition to this Sabha Parva narration relating specifically to Vastra, or Vastraharan or attempt at Vastraharan in the rest of the Mahabharata text. So yes, there is one, but I'm also emphasizing there is only one additional reference, and that occurs in Shalya Parva. Let's look at what that reference is. On the 18th day of the Mahabharata war began on Kartik Amavasya on 16th of October, 5561 BCE. So if you start counting from 16th October, count for 18 days, that brings us to 2nd November, 5561 BCE. The nakshatra was Pushya. This is the day the Kali Yuga began. We have numerous references to this specific day, specific instance in the Mahabharata text itself, but it's not even limited to Mahabharata text. You can see the references for this Kali Yuga beginning in Harivansha. You can also see references in other Puranas and in our modern times. And when I say modern times, I mean last 1,000 years. We have many acharyas who were also students of Mahabharata. They have also validated and asserted this beginning of Kali Yuga on the last and the 18th day of the Mahabharata war. On the 18th day, a lot of things happened. Yudhishthir killed Shalya. And the other thing that happened towards the end of the day was Bhima killing Duryodhan in a Gada Yuddha. And after Bhima killed Duryodhan, killed in the sense of Duryodhan was practically dead, still alive, fallen on the ground, Bhima is saying this statement. We will quote it from Gita Press edition. Rajaswalam Draupadi Manayanye ye chapya kurvanta sadasya vastram tan pashadhvam pandavair dhratarashtran rane hata stapasa yadnya senyaha. Hindi translation from Gita Press translation. Like some people will spend time looking at the translation but not understanding the meaning behind it because of the lack of Vijnana Buddhi, lack of Tarka Shastra, and lack of Tantra Yukti. Let's look at the translation. We will not make much comment as to whether that's right or wrong, but I will make a few observations about the translation itself. जिन लोगों ने रजस्वला द्रौपदी को सभा में बुलाया, जिन्होंने उसे भरी सभा में नंगी करने का प्रयत्न किया, उन्हीं धृतराष्ट्र पुत्रों को द्रौपदी की तपस्या से पांडवों ने रणभूमि में मार गिराया. यह आप सब लोग देख लो. That's what Bhima is saying. The important point is, for example, the second line, or even all lines, but for Rajaswala Draupadi Manayanye. Okay, Draupadi, who was in her menstruation, was brought to the court, and an attempt was made to remove her clothes. Ye chapya kurvanta sadasya vastram. Now, the Hindi translation says, उन्होंने उस भरी सभा में नंगी करने का प्रयत्न किया. Now, this is true on many counts, but I am saying, and I'm speculating, maybe the translator did this sabha mein nangi karne ka prayatna kiya only in the sense that the translator may know this incident from a Sabha Parva where Krishna appeared in the form of Vastra and actually protected Draupadi. So in that sense also, the Vastraharan did not happen. Okay. But here he is recognizing that the attempt was made, nangi karne ka prayatna kiya. All right, but as a specific reference to Vastra, specific attempt to remove her clothes, this reference from Shalya Parva on the 18th and the last day of the Mahabharata war, after Bhim killed Duryodhan, Bhim is saying it, and this is the only other reference to Draupadi Vastraharan in an explicit form other than the Sabha Parva narration that we already went through in part 1 and 2. So naturally, the question one would have is, what are these references that I'm referring to in, say, Vana Parva, Virata Parva, Udyog Parva, Drona Parva, Karna Parva, Stri Parva, and Shanti Parva that refer to this instance of Draupadi Vastraharan, in what specific language they describe this incident. That is what we will look at in part 4 onwards. But just to close on the evidence directly and explicitly in support of Draupadi Vastraharan, or a specific attempt at Draupadi Vastraharan by Dushasan, we see these two instances, one in Sabha Parva, in that orange color shown, and in Shalya Parva. Yes, do they exist in Mahabharata text? Absolutely. But also keep in mind, these are the only two explicit instances in the Mahabharata text that specifically, explicitly refer to Vastraharan, either directly or indirectly. After this, there is no other reference that refers to Vastraharan in an explicit fashion. That's it for part 3. In the next part, we will explore references to this event from the other parvas of the Mahabharata text. Namaskar. Please write your comments. Stick to this specific subject of Draupadi Vastraharan. While there are individuals who make utterly idiotic, irrelevant comments into these YouTube videos, and keep in mind, guys, that will continue. Okay, this is exercise in improving our intellect, improving our mana buddhi sharira complex. Okay, so those people who are participating and who may appear to be not in tune with what is being discussed, that is to be expected. So let's enjoy that. On the other hand, I would like to thank many who are making very learned, educated, relevant, interesting, useful comments. So please keep it up. And I will talk to you soon in part 4 of this Draupadi Vastraharan series. Namaskar.